So, what's the principle behind this? Well, in biblical times, a man could divorce his wife for indecency or displeasing behavior, but had to provide a formal certificate of divorce. Now, those examples would be if she committed infidelities or even unable to bear children. Now, this certificate was to protect the woman because when she remarried, the person that she remarried got the certificate and they could see the reason why the man divorced her. And that protected her because they could not divorce her for the same reason because they got the certificate. They could see the reason. So then what was the problem? Well, in Matthew 19:3, Jesus had to respond to the Pharisees' interpretation of this law. And he explained that Moses' law permitted divorce for humanity's hardening of hearts. Now, the Pharisees at that time was allowing divorce for any reason, which left a woman very vulnerable. Now, I'm saying any reason like she messed up dinner. I mean, it was getting that simple. And you could see it was the thoughts of one of the lead teachers then. Now, when we look at that, we would wonder, so what does it look like with the spirit when you look at this law? Well, Jesus is saying that divorce for any reason except sexual immorality was a violation of God's original intent, making a wife a victim again of adultery and a husband an adulterer. Jesus was not contradicting the first law, but rather establishing God's intent and purpose for the law, which was to protect the woman from being abandoned due to men's hardening of hearts, while emphasizing that divorce was rare and a serious matter. How important is this to understand this law? God did it himself. In Jeremiah 3:8, you see that he gave Israel a certificate of divorce for their adultery. They continued to not be faithful to God, and because of that, he did divorce them. Now, this shows right here that God emphasized that breaking of this covenant was a legal and righteous act on his part due to Israel's transgressions. Now, when we see this, they were sent into exile after this happened. But this is also a warning to us today that we should practice being faithful, especially to God. Throughout the Old Testament, the Israelites went back and forth in their unfaithfulness to their husband, God, which led to their demise. And we can learn from that because we can see Christianity has changed quite a bit since the first century Christians, and it has evolved. Unfortunately, it has gone away from the truth and its foundation. So, what does this have to do with divorce? We have to stay faithful to God's truth through the ups and downs. Churches and eras come and go, but his truth doesn't change. That's why we must worship him in spirit and in truth. We need him to guide us in this. Now, his intent from the beginning was always for the man and a woman to stay together.
This verse in Genesis 2:24 is a vital, very important verse that summarizes God's intent. It's at the end of creation. And basically, what it's saying here is that they shall be one flesh. When we look at this from a spiritual point of view and more in depth, Christ, we know, is the second man, and the church is represented by the woman. So we're actually talking here about Christ and the church. And when it says that they cleave and become one, this is talking about how Christ is one with the Father, but we are one in Christ with the Father. And this is talking about the unity that God has established.
Uncover the mystery of Adam and Eve's nakedness. Unravel the ambiguous connection between the Hebrew term for naked and the serpent's subtlety. Join us for this free mini-course and gain a profound new perspective on biblical Hebrew. TheExplanation.com/naked